At the street, one street, there are 10 women doing small businesses, selling kerosene, selling akara, selling gari, and then one boy comes in the morning to collect 100 naira. In the afternoon, there's a shift. Another comes to collect 200 naira. In the evening, another comes to collect 300 naira. At the end of the day, you discover that this woman may be paying even more than she's supposed to pay if she was paying the appropriate tax to the appropriate agency of government. Yes.
So what can be done to mitigate that overtaxation?
I'll come to that. But before I come to that, let me quickly add that even as they pay, in progressive taxation system, there is a level of income which you can be earning before you be taxed.
Okay.
There are a level of income that you don't pay tax at all.
Yeah.
They don't tax you because you've not reached that level that you will pay without too much pain. But you find out that even these informal sector operators, they're too down below. That level. Yeah, they're being taxed. Of course by thugs. Who sometimes claim to represent the government. But it's a problem that gives us a lot of concern. It affects their livelihood. It affects their living generally, and so on. What we think we need to do as a government, as a society, as a state is, it's only in Nigeria that some group of us will come out to the road with weapons and so on, violently grabbing money from people. Give me my money because you want to sell your market or because you want to load your commercial vehicle and then you drive up. They'll come and collect money. The government will look at it and turn their eyes off. Police will be there watching you and they're doing all those things. It's only in Nigeria that kind of thing can happen. So what I think is that the government has a duty to protect those informal sector, those people operating there, those who are facing operation daily in the hands of thugs, because it's a criminal thing that they are doing. Number one, the money doesn't go to the government at all. They collect the money and go to one corner and share it. If you don't pay, they seize your goods. So government has a duty to stop that. They have the power to stop it. Sometimes we wonder whether it's even the government that they are working for, whether it is the government operator that sent them to go and be collecting money for them, intimidating people, harassing people, and so on and so forth.
I was reading something, and in that document they said that the nano, small, medium, it had a micro, nano, small, medium sector of the government, which is the enterprises, those women on the streets, are the backbone of every society. And now looking at this COVID-19, and of course it's weighing heavily on a lot of people, particularly women or people in that sector. What can be done to strengthen them so that they don't have that effect, especially in this COVID-19 season?
Well, like you said, it's having a very real and visible impact on the lives of those women who sell on the streets. There are a few times I've been to the Eleme Junction area. You see those women selling small things by the roadside. You see how these boys come in the morning and harass them to pay their taxes. If you're not strong enough, you whip on their behalf. Sometimes I've seen people having to pay for them so that they can feel some relief, but that relief cannot come by somebody trying to pay. It's like he said, first, government trying to put parameters in place to see that these talks are stopped from harassing women, which the informal sector, like you all noted, are the backbone of the economy. Small by small, they have a way of sustaining themselves without depending too much on the government to get a job, and then they feed their families. They have families they feed. So if the government can put those parameters in place to see that thugs don't go harassing people in the informal sector, collecting money. Some of them even parade in uniform. They wear vests and come in the name of government agents, which ideally they are not. They come and claim to be government agents collecting money. So if government can define a means of collecting tax, making it known to the woman on the street where to pay her tax, and then protecting the women from and not just the women, those who are suffering these effects from the thugs who come to collect this money, I think that will go a long way in helping them to recover gradually. The COVID-19 pandemic is a general problem. The recovery process is general, but so one person cannot be left and thinking that another person can recover. No. Everybody should be taken along in the process of recovery. So how do we take everybody along? Protect that woman on the street. Help her to stay alive. Help her to be able to sell her goods, and see her money in her hand, so that she can be able to take responsibility for her children. Her children will also not become nuisance
to the society.
Yes, because they don't have what to feed on, what to support themselves with. So that is one way to go in trying to see that the problems of informal sector taxation is curbed.
You said something about government putting parameters or structures in place to know where they will pay their taxes, and I think that's one problem. What do you think about? What do you think of knowing what to pay?
Yes,
because knowing what to pay is key. Yes. Before knowing where to pay it. So how would they know? What do you think can be done so that these women will know the tax they need to pay, so that they would not be overtaxed or undertaxed?
So I think it's a matter of awareness, because even every government has that list of what one should pay and what one should not pay. It's a matter of taking that awareness to the street, to the market areas, to the trading posts where the women are, so that they will know what they are to pay. They can also create websites, where you can source information, any kind of information you want on taxation or on tax issues. There are states that do that kind of thing. Like Anambra State, they have that kind of thing. You click onto that website, you see, what you're to pay and what you're not to pay. It's no longer a case of somebody coming from somewhere and then be demanding any amount that he or she wants. It's no longer the case. So if that is available, the way to even collect it is even simple, because most of these small petty trading posts, they have unions, kind of. So their leaders can collect from the individuals and then go and pay to the government. And then with that, it can help boost the revenue of the state.
True.
The government.
Because you're now certain that the payment is made straight to the government coffers, and there are no cut corners. Now let's talk about this people harassment. Don't you think that is also a way of the government putting parastatals or putting institutions so that their taxes can be collected?
Yes, like in Rivers State, that there is the Rivers State Internal Revenue Service, which is the organ of government poised to collect taxations. So if the Rivers State Internal Revenue Service can go down to the grassroots levels, maybe create agents, create outposts where people can pay their tax without necessarily having to go to maybe one general office. That's a way of helping them to collect their taxes. And looking at it, we know that the informal sector makes a lot of money. There is so much money to be collected as taxable payments. So it will help the government to get to generate funds. So when we look at talks going to collect money, and then we cannot even have we may not have the voice to go demanding the same monies from these same people.
What if those talks are actually authorized to get those monies? Because before the lockdown and before the whole coronavirus pandemic, I knew of an incident that happened around the Eleme Junction area where a woman was harassed. In fact, she was almost beaten. I almost wept for that lady. Her goods were thrown away because she did not pay 100 naira. Her goods were thrown away. She was physically harassed, physically malhandled, and nothing, absolutely nothing was done.
It will be very unfortunate if those talks are working for the state, for the government. Very, very unfortunate. Number one, tax. You don't substitute money for goods. You don't carry person's goods if that person doesn't pay tax. It's cash that you pay. It's money. So it's also very wrong to destroy person's goods because the person did not pay tax. It's very wrong. So it's unfortunate if the government actually send those talks, but I doubt. I don't believe that the government has a hand in that. The only thing I know is that government knows that kind of thing is going on.
Yes.
But that only pretending not to know, turning blind eyes, thereby encouraging that evil, because that is what emboldens the boys, to come out and collect. And there's different sets, not just one set.
Yes,
you can be there from morning till afternoon. Before afternoon, you get like 6-7 different persons collecting money from the same table, the same trader. So it is not, if government is involved in that, it's unfortunate. Government should do something about that. Now let me give you one incident that happened during that COVID lockdown. There is one this Bishop Okoye area, because government closed down business there, and then they were doing there. In fact, a lot of other trading posts sprang up, and then thugs were collecting money from those areas. Now, at some point, government now came and then closed down their own. Now, the thugs from there moved down to another area, which is not their jurisdiction, and went there to go and demand, why should these people be collecting where we are not collecting?
Yeah.
You know, and fracas ensued and somebody was killed. I don't know, people were killed
the access.
From that access. So there is no way government would have been involved. COVID-19 brought up a lot of distortions, a lot of problems, you know, because people were faced with hardship, faced with fear of hunger, you know, and then they had to do all manner of things, you know, to survive. That's why even when you're starting to load vehicles, you see them, they rush you. Where is my money? Where is my money? But government should, wake up and do something about that. It's unfortunate because you see policemen close to them demanding money by force.
Nothing is
and
done.
They will do nothing.
Yeah,
you know, sometimes people even wonder whether after collecting they go and pay returns to the government, to the police or to those who are manning that area. Something needs to be done about that.
You know, on another hand, you know, Nigerians are stubborn, especially people doing business and residing here. They're quite stubborn people. Don't you think that sort of enforcement or that sort of harassment is the only way that they can employ to ensure that payment of tax takes place?
Well, I was reading a recent publication after an interview and a meeting by the River State Internal Revenue Service.
Yeah.
I read where their leader was quoted saying that they would not send tax force or middlemen because the bane of taxation is introducing consultants or middlemen in tax collection. Enlighten people, and I'm sure that people who wants the benefit of the government would want to pay their taxes. Tax is not something anybody who is willing to pay. But when you sensitize people on the benefit of taxation, and being that it is usually not a very high amount, unlike what some people think that maybe 1,000, 2,000 for somebody who is selling goods of hundreds of naira. So when people get this understanding, I'm sure that people will be moved to pay their taxes. But using force, using coercion to collect tax is totally out of place. So I was reading that report, and he said that they are not on the path of using talks to collect taxes from people, to collect taxes or levies. That what they want to do is to create an enabling environment of people paying taxes, and then just to see that people are not harassed as it is the case now. But after that statement, that was like last year, August, I'm still yet to see what they have put in place. So I'm calling on the government now, those who are listening from government agency, please, people are suffocating under tax collector, under self-acclaimed tax collectors. So please, government, try to put paradigms in place to see that this suffocation ends, please. We are calling on the government with this medium to try to see that talks are taken off the street, and enlightenment and awareness is created so that people can come to the right offices, right channels to pay their taxes. You know, when people pay their taxes to the wrong source, it's taken out from the government. Informal sector is a sector that can be used to generate real funds for the government. You know, when people start paying their taxes, they will begin to hold the government accountable. They will begin to demand their right. So when people knows that they can be able to demand their right, they will want to pay their tax, so that, because they say that if you want to go to justice, you have to come with clean hands. So before you ask government what they have used your money to do, you should be able to give the money first. So when people are aware of their rights, of their responsibilities, I think is the best way for us to go.
In addition, let me add this: harassment cannot be a form of collecting tax. You know, tax is like, it's a law.
Yeah.
So, and if you violate a law, there are procedures. There are procedures for you to get justice or for you to get your punishment. Part of this cannot be destroying your goods. They can, if you feel that I violated, that I defaulted in paying my tax, there are steps laid down legally that these authorities can take, you know, to recover the revenue from you, or to recover the tax from you. It's not by brutalizing you. It's not by harassing you, or by seizing your goods, or by doing anything.
Discarding your goods, destroying them.
Even by beating you up, or killing you, because some people have also lost their life in that process. It is not. There are steps laid down by law that should be followed. Government should go and look at their tax laws and find out what the law is, so that they begin to implement.
All right, if you just tuned in, this is Rhythm Now 3.7, and you have been having a conversation with the documentation officer of the Niger Delta Budget Monitoring Group, Peace Peter, and the advisor on monitoring and evaluation from the same Niger Delta Budget Monitoring Group in Port Harcourt, Steve Obodekwe, and we have been talking about tax matters as relates to the informal sector. Now, quite a number of women will say, like you just mentioned, that the government is not doing anything for me. So why do I have to pay any money? In such situations, knowing that a lot of people in the informal sector are people, I don't like to say they are the end of the social or the economic paradigm, but I like to say that there are those that are trying to get up the ladder of the social or economic paradigm. What measures can we put in place to educate them on the need to pay these taxes?
Okay, like why we are here to create awareness that tax is your right, that is your responsibility, it's your duty to pay. So when you pay your tax, that's when you can be able to demand that government, we've paid our tax, we want to see what the tax monies are being used for. We have a road that needs to be done. You can be able to lend your voice to development processes and call with a sense of right, not like a sense of privilege, like the government is doing this a favor. No, it's not a favor anymore, but because you know you've done what you're supposed to do. So people should learn to understand that when you pay your taxes, you have the power in your voice to demand accountability. Paying of taxes is essential for any economy to run. So you cannot sit somewhere and think that what didn't concern me, it's none of my business. It's your business. Tax is everybody's business. So when you pay your taxes, you can demand accountability. That's one thing people have to know.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Okay, like he said rightly, it is your duty to pay tax. It's a responsibility. It's a law. If you don't pay, it amounts to a breach of the law. So you have to obey that law to pay. Because your government is not performing doesn't mean that you also not do your duty. You should do your duty. Then that gives you the mind, the morality, the courage, the power to demand accountability. I pay this amount. What did you do to it? There is what we call tax for service. You are so paying. You be demanding that we pay such amount. Why don't we have water in our area? Why don't we have roads leading to our market and so on? So it is important that you begin to pay your tax to enable you. And sometimes it may be government have an excuse of not performing because we are not demanding that they should perform. When people begin to demand that government should do something, they have no choice. Go to the street and then reclaim the streets and demand that there must be good governance, there must be government performance of government duties and so on. But start from paying your tax first.
All right, before we take last comments, let's take a quick, very short break. We'll be right back with discussion on budget, on tax matters as regards the informal sector with members of the Niger Delta Budget Monitoring Group, Peace Peter, who is the documentation officer, and Steve Obodekwe, who is the advisor on monitoring and evaluation.
Rhythm 93.7.
Countryman, pay your tax and levies. Help government to help you now. Now from tax and levies, where government they do better things like building of roads, even bringing materials and desks for school, them plus including computer them. Others na agriculture, health services, housing, security, and employment for we youth them. Countryman, better soup the money killer mo. Your tax and your power. Now from there you will feel the ask government question on them a money project about spend money. I bet make government begin to check people where they make small business and local women pay waiting them call double taxation, alias pay here, pay there. Countryman, payment of tax and levies not be punishment at all, because as you pay your tax, now better things you go to see. Make tax people not used by force and scatter people property them when they want collect tax. Make we come together, make everything they move seriously wherever. This message now from Niger Delta Budget Monitoring Group, Ndebumok, with support from Oxfam F4D project.
Identify. Rhythm 93.7.
All right, before we conclude on this tax matters, let's talk a little bit more of what we really need to know. And if you just tuned in, we have been speaking with Peace Peter, documentation officer, and Steve Obodokwe, the advisor on monitoring and evaluation, all from the Niger Delta Budget Monitoring Group right here in Port Harcourt. Let's hear last words for the informal sector on tax matters. What do you think we should know before we go? Final words.
Okay. Finally, for those of you who are just tuning in, we've been talking about payment of taxation as a right and responsibility of everybody, and then calling on the government to put parameters in place to see that the taxes are not wasted but are used to transform the lives of individuals in the country. Taxes are important because it is a social and psychological impetus to demand accountability.